I'm Megan with the Self-Publishing Agency, and we've decided to make this video to support those of you who are about to start having conversations with professional book editors and you're looking to get an accurate quote and to just figure out, well, how much should a book editor cost for your book specifically? Now, before I get into our 3 pieces of advice, I want to make sure that whether you have talked to a dozen editors or this is the very first time you're going to have a conversation with a professional book editor, is that you go into this conversation knowing that you are equals and that you are looking to hire a teammate for your book. You're not looking to hire somebody that you feel intimidated by or who's going to be your grade 11 English teacher and scold you on your grammar. You're looking for someone who can get behind this book, believe in what you're doing, and also bring their professional talents to make sure it can become the best book possible. So, in order to make sure that you start that conversation on even footing, we want to make sure that you're as prepared as possible so the editor can also give you an accurate quote on what your book is going to cost to edit. The first suggestion we have is to make sure that you know your book's details. Generally speaking, that could be what your book is about, a general synopsis, and the genre. But the details that are going to help an editor figure out how much it's going to cost to edit your book are to know what is the word count of your book and what are your expectations for editing. So a word count is always better to give an editor than it is to give a page count, because a loose page count can vary between Google Docs or Word documents, font choices, spacing, sizes, etc. So if you can give an editor a word count, they'll be able to understand how long the manuscript actually is. And the second is when we say know what you want with an editor, make sure you have an idea. It's like, are you looking for an editor to come in and help with your characters or plot timelines or moving things around to make them juicier or punchier? That is an entirely different editing task than asking someone to just go through with a fine-tooth comb and pick out any sort of grammatical snags or like just through each line. It's called a line edit or a proofread. So those are 2 different editing asks, and you might not even be sure, but make sure you just have an idea of what you're asking the editor to do when they're going to give you a quote. Because again, very different price points and very different amounts of time are spent on those 2 different types of edits. The second thing is to have a few, like at least 1, if not 2 chapters ready to send an editor so they can take a look over your writing. In a lot of cases, we're suggesting that editors offer up a complimentary sample chapter for authors they're really seriously considering. You don't want to smatter the internet asking 20 different people to edit a sample chapter for you, but if you're seriously leaning towards an editor, just before you engage and commit to using them to write a sample chapter is going to be really helpful. It's helpful for 2 reasons. The first is that a sample chapter is going to help an editor figure out your writing style and to make sure that this is a book that they can actually edit, and it'll give them an idea of your writing skill and what support that book will need. So that will help them quote you accurately on the book. And the second benefit to having an editor do a sample edit for you is it makes sure that before you guys engage in a long-term working relationship is that this editor can actually capture the voice that you were looking for, and that you see the quality of their work before you've already paid them and you're well on your way. The third suggestion that we have is that when you're getting quotes, you can always ask an editor to give you 2 different quotes. The first being like a modest edit that kind of covers some of the basics of editing and punches up a few lines, helps trim the fat on your language. And then you can ask them for a tier 2 quote that might be a little bit more of a Cadillac quote, something that involves a little bit more extensive work, a little bit more background detail or character development, that kind of thing. But asking for those 2 tiers will give you an idea of a range and help you narrow down your expectations and and help figure out what you're actually looking for. Bonus number 4 that I have for you is to make sure that in the details, you're also making sure you know what your book's timeline is and if that cooperates with an editor's timeline. That can significantly change an editor's quote. If you're asking for a project to be finished in a month, that might mean that they have to table all other projects to finish your book, and there might be a price associated with that, or you have something that's a little bit more further out, they will have more opportunity to quote accurately on the time that this book is going to take. All this is to make sure you enter these conversations about getting a book quote with your editor, to make sure that you give them as much information as possible, but it also helps get something as close to as accurate as possible, so you're not, you know, stuck with this huge bill or a runaway project that no one was expecting. I hope you found this video helpful, and for those of you who are looking for further support on book publishing, don't forget to take a look at our professional publishing course that we've linked to below. And if you're interested in one-on-one support with your book, of course you can get in touch using our email or website in the description below as well. I hope you're all having a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.